Good morning, everyone. Just a quick update for you all. We received part of Trent's payment yesterday, $3,000. He still has another $1,500 coming in as of today, September 29th, but he does work every weekend, so that's going to keep growing. Usually he makes an extra 200 to 300 per weekend, and usually he gets paid every Monday, but somehow they got behind in paying him, so it's bottlenecking a little bit at this time. So we got a partial payment, but we need to clean up a couple of things in the budget before we can allocate this to paying off our credit card. So looking at the transaction here, you can see that I entered it as a split transaction because we need 20% of it to go into a holding account that's off budget for our 2020 taxes. I set up a new section in the budget to handle our tax savings, but I will cover that in detail at the end of this video. So I'll go ahead and enter and clear this income. And then we can go back into our budget section and do a little bit of cleanup. So the first thing I have to do is actually budget that tax withholding within my budget, so it doesn't look like I have more to budget with than I actually do. So I'm going to select self-withholding, click underfunded, and off screen, I'm going to transfer that $600 to our Ally bank account where our tax money sits off budget. So now you can see I have some overspent and underfunded categories I'll walk you through. The first is heating fuel. We haven't been charged for this yet, but we got the fill receipt, and it looks like since we haven't had our tank filled since May, they kept telling us it was still full every month. We're getting hit with a $360 heating fuel bill. That's an estimated amount based on our fuel prices and the receipt that we got. But I'm just going to click underfunded on this. And just for a little more information, we moved into this house in mid-May, so we are totally unaware of what these bills are going to look like going into the cold months as winter approaches, because this will be our first winter here. So there may be a lot of variation in what I budget and what actually gets charged, but we're going to try and limit the impact on our budget by estimating high and maybe letting this category roll over month to month during the winter if there's any surplus. And of course, keeping our unexpected expenses category full so that if a bill is a lot higher than anticipated, we aren't stealing from other categories that we obviously want funded too. Next is we ended up buying a bunch of groceries for my mom and sister at their house, so that majorly blew our grocery budget. I've been trying to think of a way to categorize this so it doesn't look like we're so far over budget since it wasn't actually for us, but I haven't come up with anything yet. Since my mom and sister are quarantining after having traveled, they can't leave their house, and we've been taking stuff to them as needed. So we'll go ahead and just cover that $127. Cleaning and home supplies. I made a purchase on Amazon for some baking supplies. We got cooling racks, a rolling pin, and then we got a couple of pantry storage baskets, a cupboard lock to make sure my kids can't get into the cleaning supplies in the kitchen, and then some broom hooks to organize our laundry room a little better. So I'll go ahead and fund that $91. With that purchase, I also got a toy box for my kids for Christmas and some old-fashioned candy cane sticks to have in hot chocolate. That was a Christmas tradition of my family's growing up, and I want to carry that on with my kids and my nieces and nephew that live here in town. But we obviously have money in the Christmas budget for stuff like that, so I don't need to fund that portion of the Amazon order. And last is Adobe. Remember, I was really confused by that $2 fee that was listed on my account? Well, the remaining $32 came out, which I haven't budgeted for, so that will need to be covered as well. I should have known that that was going to happen, so that one is totally on me. Okay, so now we are going to take the rest of this money and move it so that we can make a payment on the credit card. So, full disclosure, I actually made this payment last night based on this same process that I just walked you through, but I didn't account for our taxes that needed to be withheld. So the payment amount needs to be 1927.40. So because of that little mishap, I'm going to cover the difference out of our unexpected expenses fund. So what I'll do to figure out how much I need to move is add the amount I want to pay minus the amount that's currently available. So plus 1927.40 minus 1896.34. Enter. When I hit enter, you'll see the amount I wanted to pay is now showing in the available bubble. And now if I were to flip into October, I would be able to see I'm underfunded by 3106, and that's here. This is a toolkit add-on perk that I have set up in the toolkit settings. I'll go ahead and link a video of Nick True's down below if you're interested in finding out more about the toolkit and all of the cool features that it has available to kind of personalize YNAB and turn on some features that are really helpful when you're budgeting. Okay, so I need to move that 3106 back into my to be budgeted from my unexpected expenses category. So I'll go ahead and do that, and you'll see that that little warning goes away up here. If any part of what I just did was confusing, please don't hesitate to ask for clarifications in the comments. Alrighty, so now that my little error is accounted for, I'll go ahead and record that payment. So I'll just go into my Trent credit card account, hit record payment, memo card payment, inflow 1927.40, and that just comes from my payment amount that I made available for this on my budget. So I'll save and clear. I'm really ecstatic to have been able to do that in the month of September. I was sort of discouraged that maybe it wasn't going to happen until October and I wouldn't be able to see any progress in our debt for the month of September, but that was not the case and I'm thrilled. Here is our net worth report. You can see that for the month of August, our total debt was $102,000, and now September is showing about $100,000. And I'm guessing October will be the month that we officially make it under $100,000 in debt. For those of you who don't know, we started in January of 2020 with over $130,000 in debt. So to be where we are now within 9 to 10 months is very exciting. And even though we still have a lot of debt, our progress is very encouraging. So that's it for the budgeting part of this video. I'm going to talk about a new way that I'm entering our paychecks. I used to do this before our fresh start in April, and I've actually missed the insight that it provides when I'm trying to estimate our tax liability and figure out our actual gross income, especially having moved around and changed jobs this year. It's hard to easily track down all of our income information for the year. So this is definitely a little extra, but it takes me no time at all when I have the pay stub in front of me and it's information that I actually want to see. I'm starting this now. I entered for this information for all of our paychecks in September, but I didn't go back any further than that. It's not going to be super helpful for 2020, but I want to establish the habit now so that I can take it into 2021 and have this information readily available each year going forward. So what I did is created a budget category called Paycheck Withholding. And when I get paid, I can go onto this website to pull up my pay stub, which breaks down my taxes and benefits per paycheck. My husband has a similar website for his paychecks that I do the same for. Now, because Trent does side gigs and occasionally contract jobs, we have to withhold the taxes on those 1099 jobs ourselves. I just moved 20% of that income into our Ally account, which, as I said, is not anywhere in our budget because I consider that money completely spent. If we don't end up needing all of it to pay taxes, I will then move it into our budget as income and allocate it wherever I need it. And it's the same concept as the IRS sending people a tax refund. So my hope is that this paycheck withholding category will help me become a little more organized in making sure we're withholding appropriately and don't end up with a huge tax bill that we weren't prepared for. The way I do this with our regular income is I enter the paycheck as a split transaction. So there's his and mine. So this right here is what we're looking at. From Trent's pay stub here, I pulled the actual numbers for each tax or benefit that we pay for. The same with my paycheck here. There is no state tax in the state of Alaska or Washington, which is where we were living earlier this year. So that's why you don't see any state taxes listed. But you can see I input the gross pay amount as an inflow, and then each of the deductions as an outflow to the appropriate category in my paycheck withholding section, and then the overall income balances to my take home pay, which I get to budget with. Now, the only downside to this is that your income for each month will look really inflated because you're reporting your gross income, not just your take home. You can easily figure out what your take home was by subtracting the total paycheck withholding from your total income for each month. And that's not a problem to me personally, but just be aware that this does change the way that you need to think about your reports if you're a data nerd like me and you're constantly evaluating your reports. Again, if any part of this is confusing or you have more questions or concerns for me as I try this new process, please don't hesitate to leave a comment. I'd love to have a discussion about how you handle self-employment income or your experience with using YNAB in this capacity. That is all I have for you guys. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you want to continue following our progress. We are technically currently working on getting a month ahead, but we took a brief intermission to pay off this credit card that was charging us a hefty interest bill each month. Once that's paid, we will go back to getting a month ahead and then really shift our focus to saving for our true expenses and getting debt paid off. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you this Friday where I'll budget my first paycheck for the month of October. Bye!